Welcome to Emerge and Empower Podcast TV, a platform where resilience meets transformation. Here, we amplify voices that have faced trials, trauma, and adversity, stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m. with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Emerge and Empower. As you know, we are on here on Wednesdays and some Saturdays as well. So on today, it is no different from all the other times that we have connected. We are bringing individuals that are coming on and sharing their past experiences. They're taking us from their past and then bringing us forward into their why. While they turn their pain into purpose or test into a testimony. What is it that they're bringing back and giving back to the community? What was it that they lacked that they share and they feel is vital for your healing journey? Now, you know what I'll tell you to do next? Go ahead and subscribe to our channel. It's Emerge and Empower by Dr. Lynn J. Or go to Emerge and Empower at gmail.com if you would like to share your stories and say, I too have a story to tell and I would like to come on to the platform. Also, you can go to our website, which is emergeandempowertv.com. I don't know where you're watching us from, YouTube, Facebook, on CTR Media Network, which is a global TV that is on Roku TV, wherever you're connecting from. Do send us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. And if there are any topics that you feel we should discuss a little bit further on, let me know. Also, I'm looking for experts. If there are experts in your field that will continue on this healing journey where individuals can ask questions that you can answer or things that you can share or gifts that you can give that helps the healing continue, then I encourage you to do so. This indeed is the platform for you to share all of those experiences because we all want to heal for real. I don't know about you, but my healing is beautiful and I'm so mad that it took me this long before I let go. I would have been living much happier sooner, but I'm thankful that it's happening now. Everything happens in its time. Also, it can be delayed because we choose not to release it. So we'll be back with our guest, Xanet.
Bestseller, soon to be New York Times bestseller. Hold on now, keep focusing, keep working, sis. All right, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Linda Joseph, and I'm a pastor, mentor, life coach. And basically, this book's about my journey. And it's a journey to healing. It starts from my childhood to life and marriage and to helping other people heal. So my whole point of view is making you be the better person that God created you to be.
Amen.
All right, all right. So we are back on Emerge and Empower, and let's welcome Janae. Welcome, Janae, to the set of Emerge and Empower. We are so glad that you're here, and I know everyone is like, okay, what are we going to hear today? Because every week we bring different stories that people have experienced, and we believe that yours also possibly is common to some who feels like, you know what? I think I'm the only one that has gone through this sad experience. So on today, Janae, welcome to Emerge and Empower.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lynn J. I'm happy to be here and excited to be able to engage in this conversation with you and your audience.
Yay! We're so happy. We love it when people say, you know what, I'm healing and I'm continuing and I have a story to tell. So, Janae, we're going to go right in as you introduce yourself and you told us, yes, you're welcome to be here. But, you know, our listeners are like, okay, let's get into it. Let's get into it. So, so that's what we would do. Okay, that's what we would do. So let everyone know where you're connecting from and who or what it is that you do now, and then we'll go back into year before.
Okay, so hi everyone. I am in Asheville, the beautiful mountains, Western North Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina. I've lived here for about 6 years.
Okay.
And I am, for the last 15 years, I've been a sex and intimacy educator and coach, helping women reclaim their pleasure, overcome trauma and shame, and helping couples who are in sexless marriages or having a lot of intimacy issues in their marriage reclaim their relationships as well.
All right. So you are what we call a sexologist.
Sexologist,
A
yes.
sexologist.
I guess.
All right, y'all heard it, guys. Y'all heard it. There are different parts of it. It was not meant to be painful. It was not meant to be trauma. And so Janae is here to tell you you can enjoy it, okay? You can
Mhm.
enjoy it. And if you having any issues, she's a specialist in that field. Y'all heard it right here on Emerge and Empower, trying to help that healthy relationship, okay? Healthy relationship. So Janae, we're going to dive into your story, all right?
Yeah.
Take us through who Janae is before we get into what it is that you're doing today.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So who Janae is? Such a great question. Janae, Janae grew up in a household where there was never any talk about sex. My mother was widowed at a very, very young age and decided never to remarry or even date. And Janae was a very curious little girl sexually when I was young, but I had some experiences as a child that created a lot of shame for me around sex. For example, being caught playing doctor with my friend in first grade, and then her moving away, and me believing for the longest period of time that it was because I was a bad person and
Wow.
did something bad. Having an experience, which a lot more women have than you might hear, of having a dog when I was 8 years old who seemed to like to lick my panties. And it actually felt really, really good. But I had a
Wow.
lot of shame and anxiety around that because I already knew it
Mhm.
was bad to be caught, right? Playing doctor.
Right.
And that started the whole spiral of me being really ashamed of my body, ashamed of sexuality. Another very triggering experience, a seminal experience for me, was when I was like maybe 10 or 11.
Mhm.
And I developed my breasts pretty early. And I guess I wasn't wearing a bra. My mother wasn't really good with that kind of stuff. Again, never
Right.
talking about sex or anything.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I was walking to middle school, and a group of guys, like gardeners, I guess, in a truck, just did cat called me out, hey, baby, look at your tits or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I was mortified, right?
Mhm.
And again, like a whole nother way in which anything having to do with my body, my sexuality was not safe. Added to that, when the first time that I had sex when I was 16 years old, it hurt. It hurt a lot. And
Mhm.
while I know often it does, that hurt never went away.
Wow.
So I moved into my early 20s, where I eventually met my then husband and got married in a space where generally sex was very uncomfortable and painful for me. And yet I continued to do it because I was married and we wanted
Right.
children, and this is what, you're supposed to do.
Right.
Right. But, ultimately, like by the time I had my second child and I was 28, 30 years old, I was like, yeah, no, I'm done. Like, there's too much drama here. There's too much pain here. I feel totally broken.
Mhm.
No pleasure whatsoever. I heard about orgasms, but I never, ever experienced one.
Right.
And so, by training, I'm a lawyer, healthcare lawyer, and I practiced law and had my own businesses as well. And I
Mhm.
stayed in this essentially sexless marriage for 26 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Taking, all of my energy, all of my sexual energy, and just like putting it all into my children and my business, and just completely shut myself down sexually.
Mhm.
of that, and this is something that's actually very common for a lot of women, but it also
Yes.
not discussed. I had a whole bunch of medical trauma related to my sexuality. So,
Right.
common yeast infections and UTIs, and then,
Yes.
urologists shoving things up me that hurt like hell. So,
Right.
like, all of that was just like, oh my God, there's nothing safe about my vagina. There's
Right.
nothing safe about sex. Anytime I tried to have it, there's a problem.
Right.
Why bother? My husband and I are fighting about it. There's drama, there's tears. So that was kind of my decision,
Mm-hmm.
and it had a cascade effect on my marriage as well, because, when you start losing sexual intimacy with your partner, we ended up sleeping in separate beds for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop leaving that any type of intimacy, the relationship starts breaking down as
Right.
well. And we also were not great at communicating. We couldn't talk about what was happening between us,
Wow.
right? So it was a challenging,
I'm
that
sure.
part of my life was a very challenging situation to be in.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Well, you did mention something that is very common that people don't talk about, right? And this is one of the reasons. I'm not saying that people should go out there and cheat, but this is one of the things that causes couples, whether it's a woman or a man, to go out, for satisfaction, in finding it in someone else because, one, the person has shut down. That person who's dealing with the situation has shut down. There's no communication. So this person is feeling all types of emotions, right? That they're feeling that you no longer love them. Everything is tied. For some reason, sex and love, we tie those two together. If there's lack of, it means lack of love. Okay. So therefore, that is no longer happening. But then again, like you said, there are women that have gone through different sexual traumas
Mhm.
that cause them to not want to engage. For one, of course, if it's painful, who wants to have sex and it's painful? All
Right.
right. Because it's supposed to be pleasure, joy. All right. That's supposed to come out of this. So, you came into the teaching um, individuals on the part of pleasure and what they have to do. Was this where it all started for you to realize, in a sense, to teach him how to love you, how to be affectionate with you, to bring you to that mood or bring your body to a place to receive it?
Yeah, no, not in this marriage. not
Oh,
not in that one.
okay,
So I ended up by the end of our marriage, our kids our second one had just entered college,
okay,
and the relationship was pretty bad.
okay,
And it was a joint decision for us to leave the marriage, to
okay.
separate. And that was the beginning for me of the change, of the transformation. I couldn't do it in the context of the marriage. Like, I work with couples all the time, and you will often get to a point, and you'll see this with a couple, where there's just no going back. Like, there's
Right.
been decades of resentment and
Yes.
decades of frustration. That's where we were at, and no trust. So, my turning point was when I actually left the relationship. This was,
Hmm.
if you will, the she emergence that
Right.
happened over a gradual period of time,
Hmm.
where, I was 50 years old. I was pretty sure I wanted to get married again or be in
Right.
another relationship, but I knew that I had a problem around sex.
Hmm.
And I was pretty sure it wasn't going to be another person that was going to fix it. Like, I
Right.
had to actually fix it myself.
Right.
So
Right.
that began my own journey of my own, transformation around sexuality. And it took a long time. It took a long time for me to feel safe in my body. It took a long
Hmm.
time for me to allow my body to experience pleasure. I had a lot of wonderful people along the way that were really supporting me, and it's what
Hmm.
made me like take a deep dive into
Right.
tantra and sacred sexuality, and then a whole bunch of different sex training, sexuality, if you will,
Hmm.
training programs,
Uh-huh.
all very like somatic and body based.
Uh-huh.
And eventually I got to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, this body is entitled to have pleasure. This body can have pleasure.
Right.
Things can actually, begin to shift inside of me. And I also, had a reckoning with myself around, like, you really experienced a lot of trauma
Right.
around sexuality and your body and body
Right.
image and not feeling safe. And I had to heal that part too.
Of course.
Right. But like every wounded healer, right? It was, I mean, as challenging as, some aspects of that 26-year, maybe 30-year period of time was, there were so many gifts that came out of it in terms of me really, first of all, realizing, like, I don't want to be a healthcare lawyer anymore. I really want to do something to help people, not
Right.
pharmaceutical companies,
Right.
not physicians. I want to help women who are really struggling and couples that are struggling with the same challenges that I had when I
Right.
was 25, 28, 30, that there was no one that I could talk to. And that's what really led me into deciding in like 2012, 2013, hanging out a shingle and saying, yeah, I'm going to do the sex coaching thing. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm going to learn about it and I'm going to figure it out. And that's how, that's how my process and transformation began to emerge. But, even now, right, I was 50 when I left. I'm 65 now. Like, I'm still in a continual growth transformation process, learning new things, working on things all the time.
Right. So the word sex, people, we can clearly talk about sex, okay? So we're talking about sex in a sense where most people who have come on this platform, sex was their trauma because when they were younger, they dealt, and myself included, where it was taken away from me. All right. So it was painful. All right. And that pain carried even into my marriage. You understand me? So, and like I said, you're married, you have to be dutiful to your husband. So, hey, it comes, this is it. Right. And so, you are trying to figure out why is it so painful, why is it hurt, right? So now for me, I'm going back, I said it's old scars, it's things, from childhood, trauma that has happened. Sex was never a pleasure thing for me. Oh, I'm excited, I'm gonna have sex, because I came from a traumatic experiences that, it wasn't like, oh yeah, let me, so whenever it presented itself, I was like, oh yay, no excitement there. All right. But out of that, I did end up having 6 children. All right. Because people might say, well, you must have really enjoyed sex. I have 6 children. I'm just very fertile. So, if it happened, I got pregnant, whenever I came off of a birth control. So here's the thing, you find that those who are going through these pains, of course, that's not a conversation you have with your doctor. Like, hey, doc, I'm having pain when I have sex, because you're not comfortable with the person enough as a woman to say, you know what, here is my issue, right? So you're looking for creams and gels and anything that can help moisten or make you feel more comfortable just being able to receive, when the body naturally creates its own juices. It creates everything that it need, lubricants, okay, for you to go into this. Of course, there are health issues that causes this as well, outside of scarring or prepping, because psychologically you can prep yourself for it, but if your body isn't connecting psychologically, then nothing's going to happen. It's still going to be another painful experience. Okay. So today it's a whole topic, it's a whole different topic. So you have emerged from, okay, this of what you said, 30 years.
We were 26, 30 years. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm sure there are people watching here today, who's like, wow, I guess I thought I was the only one. That's why I said there are things that are common, but to us we feel are uncommon.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And this is a platform to talk about all these things that you are stuck in your head on, where you're thinking that you're the only one that's going through this said experience.
Right.
All right.
Right.
And to, yes, women fake orgasms, yes,
Yes.
just to make the other person feel like, oh yeah, and so there is what you call sexual frustration that can drain a relationship, all
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
destroy a relationship. So
100%.
all right, so let's get into let's continue. I just wanted to pause there so people can realize that these things are real. All right, it's not in your head.
Yeah, and I want to say something I feel very strongly about.
Mm-hmm.
I always counsel my clients. I write blogs about it. I write it in my book. Like, I believe that you should never have to have sex if it hurts. You
Right.
just shouldn't, because uh, for a variety of reasons. But importantly, the more, if you have sex when it starts hurting, your body starts getting the signal that
Yes.
penetration is going to hurt. And anytime you start to, your partner starts to penetrate you,
Mm-hmm.
your vagina, which is a muscle, right, is just
Mm-hmm.
going to contract. It does it as a way to protect you,
Protect.
right, from being hurt. But
Yes.
if sex is painful, you need to look at that. You need to talk to your doctor, your gynecologist. And, a lot of them are a lot more open about talking about it now in 2025 than they were in
Right. That's
whenever that
true.
was,
You can.
1997. Thank God there are more women gynecologists,
Yes.
right? You need to, talk to a sex coach. There's you just need to stop having sex when it hurts. Intercourse, that doesn't mean that you can't do other things as well. And I think
Right.
that's another problem. We
Right.
define sex in our society
Mm-hmm.
as penis in vagina, like that's
Yes.
what sex is. And it's not. There's this whole smorgasbord. There's all of these possible ways in which you can enjoy your partner and each other sexually that do
Right.
not have to lead to intercourse, even if intercourse is painful. And
Right.
that's just not something that we even really, most people think about.
Yes.
And women, I know who have had sexual trauma, because I'm a certified somatic trauma practitioner as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with a lot of that. Women who've had trauma feel like they're broken, and they just feel like
Yes.
there's nothing that they can do, and they have no desire,
It,
and they're petrified that any little amount of desire that they feel in their body is going
yes.
to lead to something that's painful, or it's going to cause them to have a PTSD episode or
Yes.
dissociate from their body, right? So I just wanted to say that, like, don't have sex if it hurts. You've
Right.
got to stop that. It's not good for your partner either, because they don't want to hurt you,
Right.
and they usually know when you're not comfortable either.
Right. But then, of course, because I've seen it and I've spoken to many women where it's like the guy doesn't even care as long as he can get what he can get. But I'm saying, if it's hurting for one thing, right? The person is uncomfortable. To me, you're abusing your partner if they're telling you it. It's not in their head when they tell you, you know what, I don't feel like doing this today, or it hurts. Okay. Don't say, oh, you had X amount of kids. Why is it still hurting? Yada, yada, yada. Okay. Because the body goes back into its
Totally.
natural, form. Just because somebody had 6 kids, 10 kids, it doesn't mean that they're not, gonna have pain upon penetration, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
of course you'll have people talk about size, all right? It's not even about the size if that person is finding sex to be painful. You understand what I'm saying? Because there's more going on psychologically going
Definitely.
on. There's a lot involved, when this happens. So I'm going to leave it up to you because you're the coach here. All right. So,
No, I mean, I agree with everything that you're saying, right? Like, I feel really strongly, I think most, if we're just talking about female men, like, most men want to please their partner. They want to make them feel good. Like, that's really
mhm,
what their desire is.
right.
And, but, if it's not, you need to say something. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. If they keep on, like, penetrating you and it's hurting, that is abusive behavior.
Yes.
That's just the same as, like, punching you in the stomach, right?
Yes.
Like, so if that happens, you've got to stop that, and try to have a conversation about, like,
Hmm.
hey, this isn't okay. Maybe we need to get some help. let's think about other ways. There's a lot of ways that you can, that everybody can have their orgasm. It doesn't have to be through penetrative sex.
Yes.
And, providing other options if you're open to that. And a lot of women who
Yeah,
get
that's a
sexual
key
trauma,
word, if, because a
yes,
lot of people choose not to want to. Men will say, no, I don't have a problem. I'm not doing it. You understand? So yes, if
right.
it's a big word there.
If you're open to it, right? Because consensual sex is critically important
Hmm.
for you to feel safe and for the relationship to be able to continue and flourish.
Yes, indeed. So let's continue on your journey.
Okay. I'm not sure where I left off, but I guess what I would say is over the last 15, 14 years, my my approach hasn't changed. I've always been very focused on helping people get back into their bodies.
Hmm.
What I have focused on has changed. Just like, when you're in a business, like you do one thing for a while, then you do something
Right,
else for a while, then you
right.
do something else. In the very beginning, I worked mostly with men
Okay.
because they were the easiest customers. They were the
I'm sure.
easiest clients. Oh, there's an attractive woman. I've got a problem, right? And so they were that's who I worked with first, which
Okay.
in some ways was great because I ended up, learning so much about men and how they operate and how they think and their egos, and
Right,
gave me a lot more empathy for the challenges that they face as well around
right,
performance pressure and expectations and whether they're big enough, right?
right.
So many of the
It always comes
images.
down to the size, huh?
Yeah. So body image, right? So many of the issues that women are challenged with, men are too. And a lot of men have been sexually abused as well.
Yes, yes.
Let's not, say that it's just women. There are a lot of
Oh,
men that have been
yes,
sexually
yes.
abused, right?
More than
And
we would think to know.
yes, and have a lot of shame around trauma, particularly if they grew up in a very religious background. So
Hmm.
that was my initial experience, and then slowly I switched over to working more with women. I think probably when my book came out in 2018,
Hmm.
which was really focused more on women. I started just I guess in some ways I had a hard time relating to many women, which seems crazy, but it really
Right,
was but as I became more comfortable in the women's spaces, and as I think also connected more with my feminine side, because I was like a hard line, a lot of masculine energy, type
right.
A lawyer,
Yep.
in charge of the whole family, kicking everyone's butt, including my
Yep.
ex-husband, which did not help matters, right? I had to soften as well and learn how to feel into my feminine. And then I started coaching more with women and really helping them, accept some of the shame that we had, rewrite
Hmm.
the messages that we've all had around sexuality that hold us back,
Hmm.
focus on some of the deeper psychological issues, the wounding that women have, the self-worth wounds that so many women have, the having to be completely independent
Right,
that a lot of women have because they had to take care of everybody else, it runs the gamut, right?
right.
And then ultimately in the last 5 years, see, pretty much every 5 years,
That's it. There's a shift. There's a
pretty much
shift.
kind of, they say it's like a 7-year cycle. For me, it's more like a 5-year cycle. In the last 5-6 years, I've been primarily focusing on working with couples who are in sexless marriages,
Okay.
because I have found that is a really challenging place for me. And there's not a lot of coaches and therapists who I think do a really good job of helping couples
Hmm.
navigate those challenges and come out on the other side of it.
Right.
So that's a little bit of the expanse of my journey. And 5 years ago, right, kind of when it was, I guess it was more like 5 years ago, right when the pandemic started and I moved to Asheville, North Carolina. I started this company called Passionate Intimacy Retreats. And that's where I work with couples one-on-one in a private, like over a 4 to 5 day period in Asheville. And then I also run like group retreats, one group retreat a year, an international retreat a year, usually in Costa Rica or someplace warm.
But this is all for couples.
For couples. And I still work with women. Like I still do coaching with women as well online. Sometimes they come see me if they're local. But I do coaching as well. But in part, I wrote that book because I really wanted to get my story out there. So my book, Living an Orgasmic Life, which came out in 2018, did very, very well. It was a bestseller. It talks about my own personal journey of my own sexual healing in a lot of detail. But it also incorporates a lot of stories of clients that I worked with as well.
Yes.
And then the first half of the book is like healing yourself. So what are the blocks to sex and what are the blocks to intimacy and the challenges, some of which we've already talked about, the emotional challenges, the physical challenges, the trauma, the messages, what I call our sexual blueprint that we received around sex. And then the second half of the book is geared towards how do you awaken your pleasure? And it's geared more towards women awakening their pleasure. So there are self-loving practices and there's a lot of information that is really geared towards women, though men read it and love it.
Right.
Because like men just want to understand the female psyche. They really do.
So all the men, calling all the men.
Read the book.
Get this book.
And so that's what the second half is about. And again, it has all sorts of like practical exercises and tips and very specific tools and things that you can do. And then I have a new book coming out in March. I'll come back and talk about that later, but that's for couples. It's called The Sex and Intimacy Repair Kit. And that is really a book for helping couples heal issues around sex and intimacy as well.
Wow. Well, that has definitely been a lot. And when you said that you started helping couples, about 4 or 5 years ago, it makes sense because especially during COVID, people had to be home more often, right? People were looking at each other. During that time, a lot of people got divorced because they realized, there isn't really much here between us. And their truths actually come forward. So a lot of people and relationships, there was a lot of divorces, a lot of separations during COVID, not only because of sex or lack thereof, but also people really get to spend time with their significant other outside of I come home, I'll see you when I get home and go to sleep. But you literally have to live with this person. Intimacy is also in the way you express and your love language and how you are with each other. And most of them, I can say, weren't even good friends, okay, but were married. And then add on top of it, the lack thereof when it comes to sex. So that just tore everything apart, okay? Totally. So a lot of things died in COVID, outside of, no pun intended, people who lost their lives, but a lot of relationships, a lot happened. It was also an eye opener.
It was an eye opener for so many
people. It was an eye opener for so many people. Like, wait a minute, who are you? I don't know you. For all of those who had already grown apart because of whatever was there before, this was the time like, you know what? I can't do this 24/7, 7 days a week. I can't do life with you.
It was a huge tester it was an amazing petri dish, if you will, to really see how strong or weak a relationship was. And some couples got stronger during
Yes,
COVID,
of
right?
course. Yeah.
Right, because they actually like realize, oh, we're here for each other, we're able to connect. But
Yes.
yes, my phone was ringing off the hook when I started
I'm
offering
sure. Help
these
me.
these retreats,
Help.
right? And I did them outside on my deck so that we didn't have to be inside,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, it was a very it was definitely an eye opener for a lot of people. And yes, there was a high
Mhm.
divorce rate
Yes.
during that. And it does, like, it's a huge difference. And my partner and I live together now. We've been together for 3.5 years. And
Mhm.
wow, it's a huge difference living together with somebody 24/7 when you're both
Right.
working from home and you see each other every minute of the
Yeah. You
day.
have to decide,
You
like,
have
is this really the person I want to spend the rest of my life with?
Exactly. And how do we navigate challenges, and how do we
Hmm.
give each other space that you really need to give each other space
Right.
when, you're in such close quarters all the time. So yes, absolutely. It was a defining moment for people, for sure.
Right, right. So, like we said, this is Emerge and Empower, and we are here every Wednesday as we have news stories and episodes that come out. Saturdays is a moment of empowerment and all, but who would have thought somebody would have said, yes, there's sexual trauma, but this is a different type. This was one from pain. This was the trauma that brought a divide for you, right? In
Mhm.
your relationship, among other things, because it's never one thing, right? But there's things that
Mhm.
become major and people grow apart. That's why I always say when you see someone go through a divorce or they're no longer together, it didn't happen overnight. All
Right.
right. There was a
Right.
lot that was leading up to it
Totally.
getting to that point. Okay. And so for you couples that are out there, we have a coach for this specific reason. Maybe you never heard of it before. I remember back in the day, I think it was Lifetime movie
Hmm.
network, and they had a movie with a woman who was helping couples who had issues,
Hmm.
you know, in their relationship. I remember
Mhm.
it. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember there was such a movie, and the couples went and they were able to restore their marriage because they went to see a coach, because they were on the verge of divorce. And the
Right.
the therapist said, you know what, this is beyond me. This is not my field. Let you talk to a colleague. And that is what ended up sticking because they really wanted to work it out, but that
Mhm.
was the problem. They needed that. They didn't want to be out cheating on each other, and they wanted the pleasure to be with each other, so they went the extra step. So don't be ashamed. I'm sure you have a lot of people who probably would have came sooner, but because of shame,
Yes.
embarrassment, men and their egos,
Yes.
whatever it is, let's talk about the shame of even wanting to come out and say I have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great question. So, in my book, I have a chapter which says shame, the nastiest five-letter word in the universe. And it is,
Mm,
right? It really has a huge impact. And shame trauma is a real thing too.
yeah.
Shame trauma shuts people down. Shame around our body, shame around our vagina, what it looks
Hmm.
like, what it smells like, what it tastes like, shame about the size of our penis, like
Right.
shame about gaining weight, right?
Yes.
After a baby, about
Hmm.
menopause, like all of that. But yes, for sure, a lot of people wait until the very last moment. Like, honestly, the majority of the couples that I see, like,
Hmm.
when I ask them, like, where are you in your relationship? Like, most of them are like, we're almost out the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
tried, we've maybe tried marriage counseling, we've maybe
Hmm.
seen a sex therapist, but we've maybe gone to a workshop, but nothing's really helped.
Right.
And part of it is like they wait too late, right? And that's one of
Yes.
the messages that I always like to talk about. Like, don't wait
Don't
until
wait. Don't
don't
wait.
wait, right? When things feel off, go get support, go get help. If
Yes.
and there are, and especially now, there's books you can read, and there's,
Yeah.
you know, sexologists on TikTok galore and Instagram, right? And classes that you can take and people that you can go see. But like,
Right.
the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be to address it, because things are
Yes.
going to get more and more uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it's one thing not to have sex, once every month, let's say, but then all of a sudden you don't have it for 4 months, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
8 months,
Six
and
months.
then
Hey.
it's 12 months.
Yeah,
And
it's
before you
true.
know it, it's 5 years
It's
and you haven't
it's
had sex.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
And there
So
are couples out there who have not had
a lot,
sex.
a lot.
A
I
lot. And
mean,
they're not older folks.
no, that's definitely a
Because
myth
people
for
think it's
sure.
because people are, oh, they must be old. No, it's
No,
not.
no, definitely not. In fact, I think the younger generation is having less sex than the older generation
Mm-hmm.
right now with the context of marriage. But the percentage
Right.
of couples that report being in a sexless marriage, they report, is around 30%.
And that's high.
And that's low. I think
Oh, that's low.
I think so. Yeah. I think the
Oh,
real number is probably 40% to
okay.
45%, especially in long-term relationships.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a very high number, and it has a huge impact on people. It has an impact on your health.
Okay.
It has a huge impact on people. It has a huge impact on our health, our longevity. It has a huge impact. So it has a huge impact on everything. It has a huge impact on your health, on your longevity, on your relationships with others, on your business success. Like,
Yes.
it really does impact us. So it's very important to address it if there's a problem, if you
Right.
sense that there's a problem. I knew there was a problem early on, but I just didn't know how to address it.
Right. Right. So for you that are watching today, again, I said some things may seem not common or you feel like you're alone, but it's actually common. All right.
Mhm.
So we can say 2 out of 10 couples are going through such issues as far as intimacy. You need to speak about it. Stop being private about it and do share. Couples, men and women, talk to each other. All right. Talk. I have a problem, and let's see how we can go about this. There are coaches in this day and age. There's a coach for everything. There's a coach for everything. You name it. You might not think about it. There's a coach. Google it, chat GPT it, TikTok it. You will find that there is a coach for everything that you can think about. The whole point here is we want you to have healthy relationships. Remember, God ordained for men and women to come together, and He said, be fruitful and multiply. Trust me, the pain that God brought was not a punishment of having sex, the pain was in childbearing. That's where we get the pain and contracting. So it's not supposed to be in the beginning. All right. So don't say that God did this to you. He did not. Okay. So we need to find the resolution. Again, if it was from past trauma or sexual trauma, shame trauma, whatever it is that you're dealing with. All right. It's time to get in the front row seat. I know you didn't think this would be one of the topics because we've been talking about sex in a negative way, how it have impacted people. But guess what? All of those people who are impacted negatively still went on to live their life. They got married. They had children. All right. So it was not the sex in sense that was the issue. It was the violation.
Totally.
All right. That is what the issue is. Taking something from someone that you had no right to take from, forced upon. All right. To bring a trauma into their lives. And it's not children, women, men, still as adults, still deal with sexual trauma. All
We
right.
do.
This is an on and ongoing thing. All right. So don't just think about a child. Oh, I'm grown. I know what is. It happens. Someone you know has dealt with it recently. All right. In even marriages, because as we were saying, if it is painful and you are still pursuing this person, it is now abuse.
Right.
Okay. So I'll take it back to you.
Gosh, I don't know what else you want me to say.
I didn't even know I would become like a category expert on that language, but
I mean, I agree with everything.
life. Life gives you experiences, and I'm one that dealt with childhood trauma, so I know what that's like. I know
yeah,
what the pain is,
yeah,
and for a while I was like, well, is this supposed to be continuing?
right,
Thank God for coming into 35 and 40 where I went through healing psychologically, all right? And
yeah.
that put me in a different space where I view sex differently versus in my first, 35 to 40 years where I only saw it as pain and duty because you're married, duty, 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 duty.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, and that is, oh, that's a double bind for women for sure, right?
Hmm.
That they find themselves in, especially if they've had experienced sexual abuse and sexual trauma.
Yeah, men
Um,
too, because we're not ruling it out.
men,
Everyone,
right? That's right.
yes,
Anybody
anybody.
who's experienced that, it really puts them in a double bind, and it's hard for their partner as well, right? I mean, I
Hmm.
work with a lot of couples where one of them has been abused, and it's so challenging for their partner, as loving and
Hmm.
supportive and kind, as gentle as they
Right.
are. Their level of frustration sometimes is through the roof as well, right?
Yes.
So it's a challenging situation, but it can be healed for sure. It
Yes.
might take, I've seen some of my clients heal relatively shortly, like within a 6 or 9 month period of time. And
Hmm.
some it's a multi-year process of healing slowly, taking little baby steps over time.
Right.
But, it can definitely be healed.
Well, obviously, based on you said, it's not I go to you for one session and I'm good. You
No.
have to invest in this. All
Yes.
right. And
Yes.
so, it takes time. It's not a 30-day money back guarantee. You have
No.
to spend, it took a lot of time to get you there, and it's going to take time to fix that. So,
Right.
as we talk about this, and you also talk on how it affects the work and everything you do, all right. Let's talk about now the boost in confidence once that has been corrected.
Yeah. I think that once a woman can really connect with her sexuality and her pleasure and her feminine nature in a positive way, it really does completely change how you feel about yourself, because you
Hmm.
come into this feeling broken,
Right.
right? I'm not sexy, I'm not attractive,
Hmm.
my body doesn't do what every other woman's body does. And you
Right.
come out of it feeling like, oh, I am sexy, I am attractive, I can feel pleasure in
Right.
my body, I can have
Hmm.
an orgasm.
Yes.
And that completely changes us. I say in my book, a portion of my book is about my experience around tantra and sacred sexuality, which was my
Yeah.
doorway into healing. But one of the tenets of it is that our center, our womb space, our sex center, is the center of our creativity and our power.
Hmm.
And when it's blocked because of trauma, because any type of trauma, because we're
Hmm.
shut down, like, our
Right.
creativity and our power is shut down.
Hmm.
And when that energy is open and it's flowing, our creativity and our power flows as well. So I think one of the reasons, that this book, Living an Orgasmic Life, like, it's a metaphor for living in the flow of life. When you're
Hmm.
connected to your sexuality, you're connected to your pleasure, you're living in the flow of life. And
Hmm.
rather than powering through like we do on the masculine side, like we all hold feminine energy and masculine energy in our
Hmm.
body, rather than powering through like we do on the masculine side, when you're in your really divine feminine, you're able to like go with the flow and just
Right.
allow the energy to move in and move out of you. And it's a much less stressful way to live your life. It's
Right.
also a much more effective and powerful way to live your life as well, because you'll start attracting into your life what you want to have. People
Right.
notice that, they see that side of you, they see that more feminine energy. I'm not talking about, submission per se. I'm not talking about gender, I'm talking about the energy of the feminine, which is
Hmm.
more around flowing and receiving, surrendering, rather than having to push and give and people please all the time.
Right, right. So where can they find your book?
Hopefully on Amazon. I'm in the middle of a new publisher taking over my book,
No,
and then
it shouldn't change if you publish on Amazon if it's a new
yeah,
publisher.
I know there's just a little issue,
Yeah,
but by the time this comes out, hopefully Amazon will have more copies of it. But the audiobook
yeah.
is there as well. It's in a much of different
Okay, it's good
formats.
because like me, that's why I'm running my Shemergence virtual conference, which is going on until the end of September. Is because my ninth book is going to come out.
Mm,
So, and I've gone through, two different, I guess about to go three different types of editors or publishing
hmm
companies
hmm
because there's no one size fit all, unfortunately,
Right,
when it
right.
comes to that person. But going through the ninth book, though, I realize I've learned a lot to the
Mm,
point that I can help someone who wants to start up their write up because I've gone through the ins and outs. I have that platform, I understand it,
right.
and I'm always creating. Like I have a magazine which is called Emerge in the Power magazine that is out. So yeah, so as far as your book, the publisher could change, but as long as Amazon is that platform, it remains because that's your account.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah, that's
definitely,
your account.
definitely. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's where they can find the book, and then the
Okay.
new book will be out sometime next year.
All right, she'll be back with a new book.
I'll be back with
So,
the new book.
living your orgasmic life. All right. And this is saying heal yourself and awaken your pleasure. All right. This pleasure is at a place where people have gone from pain. This is not a podcast that is telling you that to go out there and pick up sexually transmitted diseases or anything like that. What it's talking about is a place of healing for those who have had, pains and had issues in their relationship. All right. So that now you and your partner can now truly heal and you're connecting with your inner person, whether it's childhood, because for some people, this is finally the time for you to tell your truth because they never knew what it was that you had experienced that is causing you to react or feel the way you do as well. So it's a beautiful place to be to heal and to have a healthy relationship. All right, have a healthy marriage. All right, and that positivity it goes off into everything that you do because it boosts your confidence. All right.
Hmm
You're confident about yourself. For men, your ego, because when your libido is low, so it's the same thing with your ego. And believe it or not, you're reacting. You are doing things that your action is causing a reaction. All right. So let's heal. So your frustration is not the woman. All right. And ladies, he's not your frustration. Let's deal with the root of the problem. And that way you have a healthier life. Don't say, oh, it's just the way he does things. Well, we have a coach. Come let them teach you. Right? Let them teach you. All right. And or she doesn't do this for me, but she does. Hey, you have everything in life is teachable. All right. And we
Absolutely.
learn and we adapt. We pick up stuff from our environment, so much more so. So, as we're about to close, what are your closing comments or message to someone who is in that place right now and to encourage them to take the next step?
So I think my closing message for everyone is that pleasure is your birthright. You're entitled to experience pleasure in your body. You're entitled to experience pleasure in the world. I mean, the creator has put pleasure like that. That is how we were born. We were born to experience pleasure. And if you're not having pleasure, then I think you need to do something about that and look into it. It is something that we are all entitled to, and we should all do our best to be able to experience as much as possible in our life.
All right, all right. Where can they find you and your work?
Yeah, so the best way to connect with me is to go to this website. It's howtoimprovemylovelife.com. Howtoimprovemylovelife.com.
All right, somebody
Where
put it in the comments. Put it in the comments, someone, how to improve. And we
yeah,
will have the links. We will have the links, but
mhm.
just put it in the comments how to improve
Improve
my
my
love
love
life.
life.
Dot com.
.com, and you're going to receive, you can sign up for a free video class, which is 20 minutes to better sex, which are basically 7 3-minute videos that give very specific tips that you can
You got the
employ
links. That's a start.
immediately to start to improve your love life.
All right. So I do thank you today for being an expert in your field and also for being very transparent that you share your story. And I do believe the viewers will find you relatable and it will resonate with the couples. And please, if you, the woman, and you're watching this alone, replay this episode so you and your husband can sit down and talk about it. All right. Because maybe you didn't know how to start. Just play this and say, hey, come take a look at this. All right. And vice versa, men, do the same. Have these conversations, okay? Stop taking things personal when people are literally going through, their own traumas. And it's not about you. All right, it's not about you. So allow people to heal for real. So I want to thank you so much for being on here once again to Emergent Power. She'll be back. She'll be back. And how do you say her name again? Because I don't want to butcher it.
It's Xanet Paylette. Thank you so much.
Janae,
Yes,
Janae,
Xanet.
Janae,
Thank you
and
so
Janae.
much. Thank you so much for having me. I love that you're doing this podcast and really, bringing this message to so many people who need to hear it. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Janae will be back to Emerging in Power. And again, if you are watching and you have a story to tell, don't sit back. Just it's time to talk. Let's get in this place so we can heal for real. Like I said, there's so many types of trauma, and you just learned of one today. All right. So there are a lot of trauma, and you might have not think of it as trauma. Well, hey, I'm sure you have an eye opener today because there are so many variations to trauma. Thank you so much, Janae, for being on Emerge and Empower.
Bye.
Bye. So I'm glad that you were watching today. As you can see, there are many variations to trauma. People are experiencing all sorts of trauma. Now we'll have Janae back so we can talk about the medical conditions that can also cause individuals to have problems in their marriage where intimacy becomes an issue because there are psychological things that happen. Like we said, there are physical things that happen, and also there are medical things that impact the way you navigate through the life of intimacy. All right, so let's heal. We have too many people in our churches, too many people that are hurting, and we're not talking about all these pains. We're not talking about all these variations of trauma that we have. And remember, a lot of the things that you think are uniquely you are actually common. Just find the right group, find the right person, connect with the right coach, connect with the right doctor. All right. Connect, connect, connect. All right. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. There are ways to find what you need and experts to help you through. But at the end of the day, what I would say to you is stay true to you. All right. And be the best version of the person that God created you to be. All right. Don't dumb yourself down. You are feeling what you're feeling for real and express that. Do not apologize for what you are feeling, have come from, or what you share, because this is just your journey and you're the one that is experiencing it. Others might not understand. All right. I hear you. I see you. And that is why we're bringing different types of guests on here, experts in their field, to help you heal for real. All right. This is not one of those things that we're going to pray out. All right. You need to heal. Talk to the right persons, coaches. All right. Save that marriage. Save the relationship. It is fixable. All right. Let's get healed today. So until next week, everyone stay tuned for Emergent Empower as we continue bringing you content that helps you heal for real. Bye.